Okay guys, we're back. Rattlesnake Bay Part 2. In the last video, we talked about Rattlesnake Bay and I showed you how we went out there and we caught reds. So this is a week after that trip. So this was 3 years ago and this was on Christmas Day that I went out. This was my Christmas present to myself. Mine and Cassie's Christmas present was we were going to go out and chase the reds in Rattlesnake Bay. Because that whole week I kept thinking about how I caught those reds there when we were looking for trout. I figured we'd go back. So here we are. We went out a little bit earlier. Here we are, our usual spot, Tome. And this is probably about 6:30 in the morning. And as you can see, there's a few other die-hard anglers out there just like me on Christmas Day. There's like 3 other trucks there in the parking lot. And this is, I think this was a Saturday back 3 years ago on Christmas. But you can see the barges parked up there, up in the Royal there, and then you're going to see we're going to pass a bunch of barges that are parked for Christmas Day, that are parked all along the sides of the Royal here. As you can see, the birds are out, and there's probably trout moving right there because a barge had just moved through there and it stirred up the bait fish, and that's why all these seagulls and pelicans and everything are out feeding that early in the morning. But this is around 6:30 in the morning, so the park opened up around 6 normal time, and I got over there around, I put in the water about 6:30. See, sun's barely coming up. We're out there at as the sun's coming up. But look at all the birds, they're just feasting. And just like it was a week prior in the previous video that I just discussed on, the wind was blowing here too, out of the south. This is in December. Now this is usually unusual because it's warm. You're talking that day it probably got up around 85, 87 degrees, you know, on Christmas Day. So we had a good south wind again that week. The wind was still blowing out of the south. So I wanted to capitalize on that opportunity and go back to that same spot where I caught that 28-inch red and see what else we could do there. And see if they were still hanging in that area. So that's what we were thinking. So that's our plan. We're going to head right back to the same place that we were before in the previous video that I just posted and had a discussion on Rattlesnake Bay 1. This is part 2, but on a different day. But look at it, beautiful morning. Clear skies today. Remember the last one, it was cloudy all day. It was windy but cloudy. But here it's windy and it's a clear day. Sun's coming up and I have great expectations. I'm heading out for the major bite, which is the one that's usually first thing in the morning. I looked at my charts and it says it's going to be good. So I got high anticipation that we're going to do really well. And we catch I think 5 or 6 reds here, all nice ones too, and they keep getting bigger, bigger and bigger. We catch 3 big ones right in a row, and then we catch a couple of 23s, and I think maybe a 22, and I think that's what we caught. I think we caught 6 reds if I recall right on this day. We'll have to see how the video plays out, but look at it, beautiful. I love the ride out. Just the the environment around you, just soaking it all in. You know, the birds flying, the smell of the salt water, the sun rising, the wind blowing in your face. It's great. Highly anticipating that we're going to do really well this morning out on the lower Laguna Madre, chasing reds. Gonna get back to our game. We're gonna chase reds in the flats there up Rattlesnake Bay. But as you can see coming up, there's barges parked up here, all up along and down the Royal. One had just moved through here, so we're gonna look at this because you're gonna watch these birds feeding. You can always probably catch trout that probably follow behind these barges because the trout usually follow the birds usually follow the bait fish. So when you see birds on the water feeding, you know the trout are going to be in that area, and that's always a good place to stop if you like to fish for trout, because they're going to be in schools feeding too, right behind the birds, and sometimes reds too. If you're in the flats and you see birds feeding, then of course you know the redfish are right there too with them, feeding right behind them also. They kind of work in unison sometimes together. It's interesting how it works, you know. How the reds will use the birds to scare up the bait fish to make them start moving and getting in a frenzy, to where there is no unison or no coordination, and they're just going everywhere, and it makes it easy for them to attack and to get a quick, easy meal. So here's a couple of barges right here. And then there's another one up ahead also. I want to say this one's idling right here, isn't it? Yeah, you see how it's churned up behind it, so it's got its engines going. There's another one sitting right here, and then you see the one dead center right off of my bow that's heading out of the arroyo. It's going to be heading north and taking the Y to the north to go up the intercoastal waterway. You're going to see how powerful the engines are on these things. Because look how far ahead he is, and look how churned up the water is back here. So this one has its engines running. You see that? See the water's moving? Very strong currents these things produce. But this one that's dead ahead of me, you're going to see I'm going to run into its wake right here. It's coming up. Right there. Look at this. Look how churned up that water is. The birds are feeding all in there for a bait fish, and it's churned up all the way up to where it is. So that ought to show you how powerful those barges are, that it still has that kind of effect that far away from it. So what I'm just trying to say is, you never want to be in the water around one of those things, because you could get sucked under real quick and real easy. Just look at that. Very powerful barge. It's pushing a double load, it looks like. It's double stacked. So this is a big, powerful barge that's pushing this one. It's not your regular one. But look at the birds following right behind it. And I guarantee you'll be able to find trout right in the line behind there too, if you did some fishing right behind it. Yeah. Incredible. What a beast. So anyway, let's get back to, we're heading out. As you can see, we're coming up to the mouth. Bird Island is dead ahead, right off of the bow. We're going to go to the south, and we're going to go to Rattlesnake Bay. We're going to go to the north end of Rattlesnake Bay is where we're going to go. And then we're going to cut in to Rattlesnake Bay. I'm not going to cut in on the south end because I don't want to cross anywhere that I'm going to drift fish. So I want to stay out of there. So I want to go down the intercoastal waterway and all the way to the north end, and then I'll cut through one of those cuts between those spoil drops, and I'll stop the boat, because I don't want to scare up any fish. I don't want to, you know, leave any mark through there that'll make the fish move, because I know I'm going to be the only one right now out there, because I only saw three other trucks that were in the parking lot there at the at Tom A. So I know there's nobody going to be over there. So I don't want any disturbance in the water. But look at that sunrise. Beautiful, beautiful Christmas Day sunrise. Like I said, this video, I did this fishing trip probably about I think it's 3 years ago it was. 3 Christmases ago was when this one was done. As you see, Bird Island's off to the left on the port side of the boat there. I'm lined up in the Y on the south side to make the curve to the south direction lane of going into the intercoastal waterway. But just look at the birds everywhere. They're feeding. So that ought to tell you. Bait fish are moving, and if bait fish are moving, what do you think's after them? Game fish. So there's game fish probably everywhere moving, feeding that morning, because there's birds everywhere this morning. It was hot. Wind was blowing out of the due south about 35 miles an hour. So we had high winds. We had wind from 35 to 40 mile an hour winds that day, that morning. Wind was blowing really hard. But it just goes to show you that even when the wind's blowing, you can still catch the fish. As you're going to see, we do really well here. This is a week later after the previous video that I just posted. That one, I think, was on the 17th of December when I went out. And then I went out a week later on the 25th of December. And we even did better. We caught bigger reds. We caught plenty of reds on the first one. But this one here, you're going to see pretty much most of all the reds are big. Just one right after the other. But look at that. That's beautiful. Nothing like it. Nothing but water in front of you, the sun rising, and the beautiful Lower Laguna Madre just laid out before you. I mean, even if you don't catch any fish, this is something you'll always remember. Sun in all its glory coming up for the day, starting the day off. So I'm in the intercoastal waterways where I'm at. And generally I usually go to the left side of the markers, because I like staying in the shallow water if the water's a little bit rough. So I stay right off to the left of the lane, of the actual travel lane, if the wind is blowing heavy. That way the boat rides smoother, because you know I do have a flat bottom boat, and it's not the how should I say, smoothest ride in the world. You know, when you get into the chop. Or I'll get off to the right. Either one. I try to stay out of the deep water is all that I'm trying to say. Either to the left or to the right. You see where I'm at? I'm right here on the right hand side of the lane. The left side's over there, so I'm just right there, right along the edge, skirting right along the edge. And you see the spoiled drop islands to the starboard side of the boat, and I'm going to go all the way up just south of 3 islands, you know, and I'm going to cut across and go into Rattlesnake Bay on the north end, and I'm going to make one drift all the way through it again, just like we had done the previous week before, because I was thinking that those redfish would still be there in that area, and I wanted to go give it another try, and it really paid off. We're on them right off the bat. I mean, right off the bat, I think I catch a 26-inch redfish right off the bat. And then I catch a 27-inch redfish. And then I catch a 28-inch redfish. I mean, just right in a row. 1, 2, 3. You know, it was a good day. A really good day out on the Lower Laguna Madre that day. But we're going to do the basics. I'm not going to change anything up that I've done the previous week. I'm going to use my back bay thunder with my number 4 treble hook and live shrimp. I stopped off at the bait shop there, and he was open, and I picked up some live shrimp on the way to Tomei Park. Jerry was open for business on Christmas Day. And we're going to do the exact same drift that I did the week before, right in the same area, and see if we can capitalize again on these big redfish being back over there. So you can see the lane now. You see those 2 marker poles? That's the actual lane of the intercoastal waterway where the barges go through. You see how far over I am? I'm all the way off in the shallow part, running in the shallows off to the side of the lane. I'm running right along the edge of those spoil drops that you saw in that Google map picture at the beginning of this video. I'm just skirting right along their edges there. And I'm going to get to the northernmost point of Rattlesnake Bay, and then I'm going to turn in and I'm going to stop and I'm going to drift. But look at the birds. Birds are everywhere. Fish were moving that morning. So I'm looking already now. I'm looking where am I going to turn into. I'm already trying to see which spoiled drop I'm going to go in between. And I'm going to make my turn here in a minute. I'm looking for the one. There's one that has a sandbar right on the north side. When I turn in, it's right next to a spoil bank, but it's on the north side. Well, I shouldn't say north side. It's on the south side because that is south. So here it is. See how the two spoil islands are? I'm going to go right in between them, and then the one to the south, I'm going to turn into it just a little bit to where I see the sandbar, and I'm going to stop and I'm going to start drifting right where that sandbar is. Because you can't go any further. The water gets too shallow and you're going to run aground. I mean, real shallow. You'll be able to see the sandbar. There's two big sandbars right here off of the port side of the boat to the left once you get around that island. And I'm going to go right up against it. And I'm going to stop. So see, now I'm turning to the left to the port. There's a spoil drop, and then look, you see those sandbars coming up in front of me? I'm going to go right up to them, and then I'm going to stop. And then that's how I'm going to start drifting. You see it right there in front of me? There's two of them right there. You see it? You see how the water breaks right here to the left? Two areas. There's one right here at the left part of the screen and one right off of the left part of the bow of the boat. There's a big sandbar right there. If you were to stop on top of that, you'd be sitting on top of on the ground. You'd be stuck. I'm going to put the drift sock out, and we're going to get rigged up. We're going to start fishing. This is the exact same spot that I was in the previous video. I'm going to drift right along those spoil drops in Rattlesnake Bay and see if those reds are still there. And they were. First three reds are big that I catch right off the bat. Right in a row. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. First one. Bam, baby. 26-inch redfish. Cassie on her game right off the right from the start. And like I say, I'm a creature of habit. I wouldn't change if it was being successful. I wouldn't change it up. I was successful the previous week. So I'm going to come back and do exactly the same thing that I did the week before, and it pays off gives me just as much dividends as I got the week before. You know, that's just the way I fish, man. You know, if it's working, I'm not going to change it up. If I'm fishing artificial and I'm catching them on artificial, I'll stay on artificial, and I'm not going to change it up. You know, I try to be consistent. I'm a consistent person. See, I'm back, and you see the little oil slicks there? I'm right back in those oil slicks that I was before. And look at this red. This red goes all the way around the boat. Doesn't get any better than that. That's the kind of red you want to hook. One that just peels line and goes all the way around the boat before you can get him in the boat. We're going to ease him up there, and we're going to net him and get him in. There he is. Look at that. Beautiful redfish. Nice big red. Those are the ones that you like catching because they're the ones that fight. And I'm using the exact same rig that I had the week before, my 8.5 foot offshore angler rod, my pin slammer 260 with 14-pound monofilament line. I got a 40-pound shock leader on it with my Back Bay Thunder and a number 4 treble hook with live shrimp on it. Cassie's excited. But this is a beautiful redfish. The water that I'm fishing in right there is about 18 to 20 inches of water, and then as I go along it gets a little deeper than that. Because I was right up against that sandbar, it was a little bit shallower. But eventually it's going to get to about 24 inches. Between 20 and 24 is going to be the average. Alright, let's pick him up. Let's see how big this guy is. If I remember right, the first one was 26 inch red. Look at that beautiful redfish. "26-inch red, guys. Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful fish. Doesn't get any better than that. Nice clear day. Sun's out. Wind's blowing though, heavy. Wind's blowing a little bit more than it was the last time. Last time it was about 30 miles an hour. Now it's about 35 to 40 miles an hour. But it doesn't matter. You know, the fish are feeding. And you can catch fish, you can catch reds out there in that high wind. So we're going to put this one back. We're going to release him. And let him go back. This beautiful redfish. Beautiful red. So like I say, right there I'm in about 18 inches of water is what I caught that redfish in. You can see the grass. You see the grass down in there? It's got a thick grass floor. But it's murky water because the wind's blowing so much. It's churned up. Clarity is low, but the reds are there. There he goes. And he's gone. Telling Cassie that he's gone. What a good job she did. Time to bark up another one. So she's getting ready. Getting that mojo going to bark up another red. And she does. She barks up a 27-inch right after this one. Look at this. 27-inch red right here. Next one. Look at that. Peeling the line, running. So you never want to reel him in too fast. I do have some videos, video 1 or 2 that where I reeled him too fast and I lost him, which we'll cover whenever we get up to those videos. But you see how I'm taking my time. I'm letting him run, keeping the line tight, keeping the pole up so I can control his head, and just let him do his thing. Let him wear himself out. And I just follow him. But I always keep the pole up. See how I keep the pole up and keep the line tight. Another one goes around the boat. Just peeling line, running like that's the beauty of catching redfish. They run like that. You know, you get that run. That's just that's the beauty about a redfish. Trout don't do that. Yeah, some of the drums sometimes do that too, but the reds do it the best. They take off and they run when you hook them. The big ones do. But always just keep your cool. Take your time. Don't get too excited. Stay focused. Keep the pole up, line tight, and as slack comes in, you reel it in. And there, and see, I got him. He's right there at the boat. Another one. Red number 2. 27 inch. So it's bigger than the one I caught just a while ago. Like I say, Rattlesnake Bay, been producing. Been going out there for almost 30 years and it's been producing. So let's pull him out and let's take a look at him. Gotta get the hook out of him first, and then I'll pull him out. But you see all the water, you see the little waves? That wind's really blowing. You're talking 35, 40 mile an hour winds out there. It's really blowing. It's moving me along pretty fast. So I'm moving faster than what I would like as a drift, because I can just imagine how many of them I'm missing because I'm floating right by them because I'm going too fast because the wind's pushing me too fast. So like I said, once I get the boat back in the water, I'm probably going to either double down or triple down on some more drift socks to slow me down. Because one thing, when I've been reviewing these videos, I can see that there's a lot of missed opportunity because I floated through there too fast. And I need to slow the boat down, especially on windy days like that. So I make sure I cover the area good, and you'll have a higher probability of catching more of those fish like that, like I caught there that day. Because when they're that big, they usually run in schools, you know, the big ones like that. And so there had to be a nice big school of them in that bay, either for breeding or whatever that they're doing, spawning, you know. But they were there. They were there the previous week, and then when I went back a week later, they were still there. In the same spot where I was the previous week before. Get a picture of him, and we'll get him on, we'll pick him up and we'll get him out of there. But you see how I'm right in the middle of all the oil slicks? You see all that white foam in the water? Drifting right in the middle of all that. Just popping the cork. Alright, I'm going to get him up and out so you guys can see him. This one's bigger than the other one. This one's 27 inches. Cassie can hardly wait too. She's all excited. It's like, get him out, get him out. Look at her. That big old red. You know, I don't really call these bull reds. I mean, bull reds would be, I guess, over 30 inches for me. I guess you could call them a bull red, but I really don't call them bull reds. I just call them upper slot reds, you know. If you want those big ones that are 30 plus inches and stuff, the jetties, by far, starting in October through March. They run through there, and you catch them big reds all the way up to into 40, 42 inches. Big old reds every year. It doesn't matter if you're at the jetties at Isla Blanca or at the jetties on the north end of the island by Port Mansfield. They run that time of year. Look at this one, 27 inches. That's a big red for being in the flats. That beautiful red. Beautiful. Beautiful, healthy, thick, just like you like to see them. That's a beautiful redfish there. I can't stress, doesn't get any better than that. That guy probably weighed about 9 pounds easy. Big old heavy red. Maybe almost 10 pounds. I'd say probably about 8.5 to 9 pounds. But here, we're going to let him go too. Like I say, I don't keep the big ones, man. Unless something catastrophic is wrong with the fish, like it swallowed the hook and I know it's not going to be able to feed, or I mess up its gills and I know it's going to eventually suffocate. Something along that line would be where I'd keep one of the big ones. But generally, I learned my lesson. Back in the day, I used to keep the big ones. But now that I'm older, I learned my lesson that big ones need to go back because they're the breeders, and you keep the smaller ones. And plus, smaller ones taste better. They do, by far. It's more crisp. The meat is more crisp off of a younger one than it is off the older ones. But that's a beautiful redfish. There he goes. Number 2 gone. See, we're right in the middle of all them oil slicks. There's those spoil dumps. See, I'm right in the same exact spot that I was in the previous video. I went right back. I'm like, hey, I'm going to try this a week later and see if they're still there. And they were. They were still there a week later. And nobody's out there. It's just me and Cassie and the reds. Now this one is just as big or bigger, but what happens here is I didn't know my net, my dip net, was getting old and it was getting frayed. The net rips and he gets out after I catch him. So watch this. I think this one goes around the boat too, just like the other ones, man. Big old red. And he was either a 27 or a 28. He looked a little bit bigger than the other one, so that's why I put 28 inch red in the video, because he looked a little bigger than the last one that I just caught. But when I go to pick him up to clip my pliers on him to pick him up out of the net, and I pick up the net, he falls right through the net. It had a frayed spot in it, and he was gone. He was gone that fast. Back into the lower Laguna Madre. Quick release. I didn't even get him up out of the net, and he got away. But see, look how he goes all around the boat. Same thing, man. And you got to remember, this is 1, 2, this is 3 in a row. I mean, just right in a row. I show up over there and it's boom, boom, boom. Next time I throw it out there, boom, another big red. Bring him in. Then I throw it out again. Boom, another big red. This was a good morning. 3 big reds in a row. All in the upper slot range. And then after that I started catching middle slot reds. 23 right in there. 24 right in there. But I caught 3 big ones right in a row right off the bat. Yeah, that guy's fighting. He didn't want to come in. And he prevails too. He gets away. He gets out of my net. Look, check this out. Like I said, this red was bigger than the one I just caught. I can see him. He's bigger. So I'm thinking he's at least 28, or he may be a little bit bigger than 28. But he's bigger than the one that I just put in front of the camera. Look at the way he's fighting. That one didn't fight like that. The reason why I hang my net off the side like that is because it leaves the fish in the water so the fish can breathe, instead of just picking him up and laying him on the deck of the boat. So I try not to stress the fish out as much. So I want some water still to run through his gills. That's why I leave it hooked on the side, if you guys ever wonder why I keep my net like this. But this is what happens after doing it so many times. It gets frayed and the fish will get out. It'll fall right through the net. The net will come apart. Because I'm always scraping it across the edge of the side of the boat there where the cleat is. And it just so happened on this morning when I caught this big one, it was didn't have enough strength to hold him in, and the net separated, and he dropped right back in, and he was gone. I get the hook out of him, and then I'm going to reach down to get him. I'm going to try to reset the net so I can reach in there and get him, and that was it. And he's gone. He's out of there. That fast. I was going to release him anyway, so he just got a little bit quicker release than the other ones did. I did want to get a photo with him, but it didn't happen. So look, check this out. After I set my pole up, put my pole out of the way, store it. So I'll have to buy a new net when I go back out again, because I did stitch it up. So he's still sitting there, see. So I put 28-inch red. He probably could have been a little bit bigger, because he was bigger than the one that I just caught. So he could have been 28, 29-inch red right there somewhere. I don't think he wasn't no 30, but he was bigger than that 27. I'd say 28 and a half right there somewhere. And that's it. He's gone. Look at the hole in the net. Went right through that net. That net gave way, and he's gone, man. Win some, lose some. So that's when I found out that I needed to buy a new net. That's the hardest way to learn, man. You lose a fish in it, that you need a new net, that your net's old when wore out. But hey, the fight and catching him, that was a good thrill. So basically 26, 27, and that one was at least 28 or a little bit bigger. I don't think he was over 29, but he was bigger than 27. So between 28 and 28 and a half, I think that's what that one was. And now we're going to start catching the middle slot reds. This was a good day. Even though the wind was blowing 40 miles an hour. Reds were hitting, man. So right there, I'm in 18 inches of water. That's when I'm measuring it out with my pole. But it's 18 inches. So I've already moved into shallower water. And I'm right in the same spot that I was the previous week. I'm riding right up along the edge of those spoil drops and Rattlesnake Bay. From the south to the north, because the wind's blowing out of the south. So I think I need to make a correction. I said I was going to go to the north end. I'm sorry, I went to the south end, the very south end of Rattlesnake Bay. The north end is right next to the arroyo as you come out. So I went all the way to the south end, and I went in at the south end, and then I'm drifting back to the north end of the bay, which is next to the arroyo and Arroyo City. See, that's Hobnail Island right there, just like you saw on the previous video. So now I'm up to Hobnail Island. I'm in the middle of Rattlesnake Bay. And this is where I start catching middle slot reds, 20, 23, 24-inch reds here in this part of the bay. Cassie was on her game that day. Let me tell you, on her game. She barked them up good that day. Nice little 23, 24-inch redfish there. And we're just doing the basics. Popping the cork with the back bay thunder. Live shrimp, number 4 treble hook. I think the leader I got on there is about, the shock leader, it's longer than 6 inches. I want to say it's about 10 inches on that one I used. Because I kind of measured it from the previous week. You know, I wanted to adjust the strike zone. Nice little 23-inch, 24-inch red there, man. So as you can see the leader's not that long. So I want to say it's probably about, normally I usually fish 6 to 7. That's probably about 8 to 10. So I lengthened it just a little bit. But you see how shallow the water is. The water's real shallow there. You see the bottom's right there. And this is what I love about these places. You know, you always hear me, you know, beating a dead horse. Bird Island, Green Island, Rattlesnake Bay. You don't got to go that far, man. They're right there. You just got to work the bay. You got to know how to work the bay, man, and work the area. The fish are there. They've always been there. You just got to go at the right time when they're moving and feeding. And this is one of those times, like I said, it was the major bite, so it was the changing of the tide. I don't remember if it was going from high tide to low tide or low tide to high tide. It didn't matter. It's just that it was the major bite time and the tide was changing. So in a short amount of time there, I caught, I want to say I caught 6 reds. One drift through, 6 redfish. So let's take a look at this guy. I want to say this one's 23, maybe 24. That we got going here. Cassie's all excited. Look at that. But you see, it's pretty shallow right there. I think it's less than 18 inches. It's probably 14 inches where I'm sitting right there. I'm right up against Hobnail Island and in the middle of Rattlesnake Bay. That's about a 23 inch red. Looks like 23. So I'm just discussing, you know, about it. Yeah, beautiful. 23, maybe 24. It might be a 24. That's beautiful red. I'm gonna let that guy go too. It was a catch and release kind of day that day. Everything I caught, I released. I didn't keep anything since it was Christmas. I didn't keep anything. We just went out, went fishing, had a good time, and whatever we caught was released. We didn't bring nothing home. So yeah, that one might be a 24 now that I'm looking at it. See how long it is? So that one was probably 24. 23 to 24. Middle slot range. So you see how my boat's not moving, so that means my skeg of my engine is buried in the sand there. I'm stuck. So I need to lift the engine up out of the water so I can start floating again. But it stopped the boat from moving. Because see, look how shallow the water is. It's real shallow there. I'd say it's probably about 14 inches, if even that. Might be less. Those reds, they hide in that grass in that shallow water. It's a perfect example right there. So this is what I'm talking about. You see how he's turned upside down? That's if you don't get the shock out of him, but there he goes. I woke him up. You know, they'll stay like that and then they'll just waste away. So here we go. Now we're moving again. Boom. Hobnail Island's right there off of the port side of the boat. We're drifting again. And here we go. We got another red. So I've already lost count. I don't know if that's 5. I want to say that's 5 reds. This is number 5. This guy was a little fighter too, man. But I think he's about the same size. 23, 24. Middle slot red. Just about the same size as the one we just released. Alright, let's get the pole stowed out of the way so we don't get hooked. And let's get this guy. Cassie's all like, alright. Cassie loves redfish. She loves to eat redfish. She loves fish, let me tell you. That's why she's always so excited to catch them. She knows that they're going to feel good inside her tummy. And I want to say this one was 23, 24. Just like the other one. Let's take a look at him. Yeah. Right there, about 23. Middle slot range. The beautiful dots on it. It's got 3 dots on that one side. Unique marking. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. And then it's got 2 together on the other side. Beautiful redfish. Alright, we're going to release this one too. I'll let this one go also. beautiful fish. So, guys, we'll cut it off here. You guys can enjoy the rest of the video. And one of these days, Cassie, me, and Rusty will see you guys out on the Lower Laguna Madre. You guys have a good day.